Art skills, choreography, beauty, and music, all this is like another world. Amazing and exciting. Kazakhstan inside of classics. This is the oldest theater in Kazakhstan. It discovered legendary names now known to the whole world. There were times when I wanted to leave the theater, but I could not do it. So the years have passed. I did not even notice how 45 years have passed. Yes, I will have a fight. With Luna, everything is ready and ready to go. No matter where we went, everyone was delighted with us. The Abay State Opera and Ballet Theatre is rightfully considered one of the most beautiful Almaty buildings. It is located in the heart of the city. A huge building is almost buried in greenery. After all, there are 2 gardens around the theatre. This is our native theater. For me, it was a dream to work here. Our theater has a great history. For more than 80 years. Not every theater can boast with such a repertoire. Now there are very few repertory theaters in the world, and our Abay Theater is one of them. The Abay State Opera and Ballet Theatre is the first temple of professional music art in the country. Its creative staff is made up of numerous laureates of various international competitions, eminent masters of the stage, and young, talented, and already well-known to the whole world artists. They have performed on the stages of major theaters a number of times in France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Turkey, China, the United States, and many other countries. For the whole history of the theater, Swan Lake is considered the top performance. The opening and closing of the season always begins with the opera Abay. 2 years ago, we had an upgrade of Abay. The Italians came, they did scenography and also choreography. And this show we took to Paris. It was a wild success.
Этот спектакль мы 2 года назад возили в Париж, выступали в театре на Елисейских полях. Это был бешеный успех.
For the first time, the opera Abay was staged on the stage of the theater on December 24, 1944, on the eve of the 100th anniversary of the birth of the great poet. Its director was Kurmanbek Jandarbekov, artist Kulahmet Hodjikov, conductor Leonid Shargorodsky. And in 1956, Ahmed Zhubanov and Latif Hamidi wrote the second edition of the opera. In the work on the modern production of the famous opera actively participated Alman Buribayev, the world-famous conductor and musician. In the updated version, for the first time, modern technologies and techniques of scenography were used. There were new scenery, the lighting of the production changed, as well as all costumes of the artists. Opera Abay is truly a masterpiece which opened a new page in the world of classical art of Kazakhstan. the foundation of the theater, almost a century has passed. During these years, one of the largest theaters of the Eurasian space has passed a difficult step of formation and development.
83-й сезон – это уже очень большая дата для нашего театра.
83rd season is a very big date for our theater. This is a whole history. This is our tradition of our theater. Our theater is the equator of such genres as opera and ballet, and in general classical art in our country. Everyone knows the history of our theater, which was opened during the World War II, when the strongest professionals of all the republics of the former Soviet Union were brought here. There were musicians, artists, ballet dancers, and thanks to this, we have our beloved theater.
Бывшего Советского Союза это и музыканты, и художники, и артисты балета, и благодаря этому мы имеем такой замечательный, всеми нами любимый наш театр.
At the beginning of the creation of the theater, there was a very small group of people. It was them who overcame all the difficulties of its formation. People's artist Kulash Baysitova, director Jumat Shanin, singer and director Kurmanbek Jandarбеков, dramatist Kanabek Baysitov, dancer Shara Zheinkulova, singer Manarbek Yerzhanov, artist gold medal winner Anatoly Nenashev, as well as writers Mukhtar Awezov, Gabit Musrepov, Sabit Mukanov, Beimbet Mailin, and composer Evgeny Brusilovsky. Initially, the theater was located elsewhere. In 1933, a group of young people in love with art founded a music studio in the building on Pushkin Street, where today there is a puppet theater. The first performance took place already in 1934. Then the musical comedy by Mukhtar Awezov was staged, Ayman Sholpan. In her book, Kushtar Kungul, Kulash Baysitova wrote, "We worked without taking days off, without a break. Every day we went on stage." Ayman Sholpan was staged 100 times, and indeed, in those years, the residents of the city only talked about this performance. It was the role of Ayman that helped to really reveal the musical and stage talent of Kulash Baysitova. Kulash Baysitova, one of the founders of opera art in Kazakhstan, at the age of 24, she was awarded the title of People's Artist. The roles of Jibek, Hadishi, Ayjanus, Ajar, Sara in her performance still find a rebound in the hearts of true fans of her talent. The lack of professional musical education did not prevent her from reaching all the heights of classical opera. She is the first Kazakh singer who equally beautifully performed the productions of both Russian and Western composers. Most importantly, theatrical costumes and information that we have from the ancestor of the Kazakh opera Kulash. The images she created are perfect. These are the images of the main characters of the productions: Ayman Sholpan, Zhalbarda, the image of Sara in Birjan and Sara, the image of Ajar in the opera Abay. They're still an example for us. She's one of those who laid the foundation of Kazakh classical theatrical art. I think that her work is invaluable. Encouraged by the success of the performances of Ayman Sholpan and Shugha, the young theater began to stage the opera Jibek by Evgeny Brusilovsky. Creativity of the author of 9 operas and ballet, Brusilovsky, is inextricably linked with the development of Kazakh national opera art. The author of the libretto of the opera Jibek is the writer Gabit Musrepov. During the days of Kazakh culture that took place in Moscow, the Russian people first became acquainted with Kazakh classical art. The play was of a great success. I like Almaty Theater because it is legendary. This theater has been known since Soviet times. Such grandiose singers visited here, and later the most talented performed at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow. Together with opera art, the National Ballet actively developed on the stage of the theater. The representative of the School of Russian Ballet, Alexander Seleznев, in those years not only headed the Almaty Choreography School, but also selected young talents for the theater. In 1938, the first Kazakh ballet, Qalqaman Mamar, was created. It was with it that the creative path of the famous ballerina Zheinkulova began. Also in those years on the stage of the theater were set Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake, Coppelia by Leo Delibes, Bakhchisarai Fountain by Boris Asafiev. In the creation of this performance, great contributions were made by Alexander Seleznyov, Leonid Zhukov, Yuri Kovalov, Nursulu Topalova, Kamash Karabalin, and Almaz Bigbosynov. All of them are the first professionals of the ballet art of Kazakhstan. While the productions of the play Giselle on the stage of the theater is connected with the name of the people's artist of the Soviet Union, Galina Ulanova. For 80 years, the repertoire of the theater has constantly expanded. In different years, such well-known artists as Baygali Dosimzhanov, Shabal Beysekova, Kauken Kenshitaev, Rosa Baglanova, Yermek Serkibaev, Bibigul Tulegenova, Alibek Nishev, Nurjamal Usimbaeva, Bulata Yukhanov, Raushan Baisitova, Ramazan Babov, and Gulzhan Tutkubaeva. Each of them has its own history of conquest of theatrical stage. I came to the theater a long time ago in 1992 after graduating from the Moscow Choreography School. Well, the feeling was really exciting for me. The hall was different. The hall was covered with a wooden floor. The ceiling was quite different, less modern, of course. Scene and equipment, lighting was different. Now there is certainly more opportunity. In 2000, the theater building was renovated. Now it is equipped with new technologies that meet all modern standards. But the experts tried to preserve the old elements of the decoration and other things that keep the history of the theater from the moment of its foundation. There are a lot of decorations that were created in the 1970s. For example, this is the design of the opera Abay and Jibek, Birjan and Sarah, and Onegin.
Evgeniy Onegin'in dekorasyonları var.
And this is the dressing room. Here about 6,000 theatrical costumes are stored. They're divided into 4 warehouses according to the acting repertoire of the theater. Women's and men's suits are in different departments. Every season we have 3 premieres at once. It happens that there are 4. One performance requires a minimum of 50 and maximum of 150 costumes. There are costumes that were created back in 1975. Among them, for example, is Nurjamal Usimbaeva's costume from the opera Jibek. It can be called the oldest. It remained here from the first production. Well, in the sham shop, important elements of scenery are created. This is one of the biggest workshops of the theater. Here, everything is made by hand. It is necessary to make sure that these things look as natural as possible. Previously, all this was created only from paper, paints, and clay. But now we're using new technologies. Foam plastic and thermoplastic came to replace clay and cardboard. The construction of the theater building began in 1936 according to the project by Nikolai Prostakov and Tuley Baisenov. In 1941, it was successfully completed. In the same year, the theater was awarded the honorary title Academic. The theater is a rectangular 3-story building. The basement of the structure is covered with gray granite. The facade of the building consists of picturesque spatial loggia with 4 columns and massive pylons on the sides. Above the loggia is protected by a relief frieze. It depicts scenes of life of the working people and the Kazakh epic. The hall of the theater is designed for 1,170 spectators. On the second floor, there is a spacious foyer which underlines the unique beauty of the general interior of the theater. In the theater, there are a lot of those who have crossed its threshold already 50 years ago. And even reaching retirement age, they cannot leave their favorite theater, which over these years has become their home. After all, the theater grew up before their eyes. Within its walls, they found their place as professionals in their field. It is with it that they connect the best moments of their life. Once in the theater, a person cannot live without it. This year, I fell ill and already wanted to leave the theater, took a vacation, but then again, gathered my strength and returned. And this is always like that. I have not noticed how 45 years have passed. Today, along with already well-known artists on the stage of the theater, hone their skills young talents. Only in the ballet troupe of the theater, there are about 50 young artists. Among the acting artists, the youngest is 18-19 years old, and the oldest are over 40 years old. Noticing talented artists, very often foreign experts offer them beneficial contracts. Many of our artists successfully work abroad, but most of them, after taking over the world experience, still return to their homeland. I grew up in the theater. It is dear to me, and even though I was somewhere out of Kazakhstan, I always knew that one day I would still come back. I'm not only dancing here, but I have students here. Saule Rahmetova, prima of the theater, the ballerina who played the main roles in all the performances that are in the repertoire of Abay State Theater. Despite the fact that she studied with dance choreographers all over the world, Saule never forgets her first mentor, who helped to discover her talent. I was lucky that when I graduated from the school, my teacher was Sara Kusherbayeva. She is a people artist of the USSR. She was the director of the school. She gave me the main foundation. The repertoire of the troupe uses all the directions of the choreographic art. These are classical, modern, national, and dances of the peoples of the world. Today, in the treasury of the theater, there are more than 70 productions. After the 2000s, there was a change. Before, we did not have modern ballets in practice, and then we were more close to the West. We were a post-Soviet space. Now the world is open, and in the arsenal of our repertoire, there are modern plays by Eifman, Red Giselle, and Anna Karenina.
Это спектакль Бориса Эйфмана «Красная Жизель», Анна Каренина.
In recent years, most productions are offered to the viewer in the updated version. In addition, every year the repertoire is replenished with new works of world classics. Among them, there are such performances as Traviata, Aida, Troubadour, Carmen, and many others. I believe that there are excellent conditions in our theater because there are a lot of performances, a lot of premieres where the troupe is busy. In a week we have 2 performances. Not every theater can have such a record. In order to exchange experience, the theater management annually invites highly qualified specialists from the countries of near and far abroad.
Все последние спектакли, какие у нас идут,
All the last performances we have staged by Okunev. He is so in demand not only in Kazakhstan but also in Russia and in the West.
он в России, на Западе.
In 2016, the Museum of the Theater was opened. It is a home for rare archive photos made back in 1934, as well as many important documents.
Бұл мұражайда 85 жылдық тарих бар біздің опера театрының.
In the museum, there are exhibits with 85-year-old history. There are theatrical costumes as well as the personal belongings of the founders of the theater. Here you can find a lot of interesting information about these people. There are clothes of Kazakh Nightingale, Bibigul Tuligenova. She is a living legend. Her contribution to the development of Kazakh culture is invaluable.
Мына жерде біздің белгілі әншіміз, бұлбұл әншіміз Бибігүл Төлегенованың киімі сақтаулы тұр. Бұл кісі енді тірі тарих. Бұл кісінің қазақ өнеріне істеген еңбегі өте зор.
I was in Kazan and performed with Bibigul Tuligenova. I was always amazed with her brilliant performance of Kazakh waltz. It was flawless. Among the exhibits of the museum, you can find sketches of theatrical costumes and decorations which were once created by famous artists. One of them is Gulfayruz Ismailova. Honored artist was the main artist of the theater from 1971 to 1974. She created sketches of costumes and scenery for many performances. Under the artist's pen came out the famous portraits Kulash Baysitova in the role of Jibek, as well as Sharazhin Kulova and Bibigul Tuligenova. In addition, in the museum, you can see rare theater posters of famous theater productions from the 1930s. This is the first poster of the play Abay, which became our signature play. This is a classic of Kazakh opera. It is still in our repertoire. This is our heritage. Gafis Yasimov, one of those who was fortunate enough to work with the founders of the theater, now he shares the accumulated experience and knowledge with the young generation of artists. I consider myself to be a happy person because when I came here to work, I had a chance to work with such legends as Kurmanbek Jandarbekov, Harifullah Kurmanaliyev, Uken Kinjitayev, Baygalido Samjanov, and the knowledge and experience they gave me helped me very much in my work. Now I want to share it with the youth.
I think
that we're leading the history and tradition that is founded by our legends with a great excellence. All the traditions that went before this, they're very carefully kept and passed on from generation to generation.
Они очень бережно хранятся, передаются из поколения в поколение.
This was the history of the country's first musical theater. Artists who performed on the stage of Abay State Theater became the stars of opera and ballet art, and their theatrical productions are the cultural treasure of Kazakhstan. Analyzing the past and present, we see that its creative team is in constant search, it is full of new ideas, and hence the rich repertoire of the theater will grow further.